What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OGGM, 8 o'clock in the morning here on this 26th day of 2022. Spiraling down towards the end of the year. How y'all doing? It's about 60 degrees here at Site B, but it's supposed to start raining, and I'm drinking sponsored coffee. Mocha. Just a reminder, this is a sponsored and monetized video, so if you do not like ads in your YouTube, I'm just letting you know. All right, it's time to take a look at what's going on in the world of tabletop role-playing game news for this Monday. What stories are going to shape this week, and maybe what we can expect in 2023 from the various game companies. So let's take a look if there's anything going on in the world that doesn't involve Wizards of the Coast. Chances is probably not. All right, Onyx Path Publishing announced the upcoming second edition of Pugmire RPG. The new edition is titled Realms of Pugmire. And for those familiar with the game, it's set in the world where pets have inherited the world after, I don't know, something instead of an apocalypse or something. So we've got dogs and cats fighting together. And the new edition will be updated with new clarified rules, new and updated character options, etc., etc., etc. This game is currently being crowdfunded. Goodman Games opened pre-orders for their 5th edition adventure, The Prison of Redemption, a dungeon crawl designed for 12th level characters summoned to an imprisoned celestial being. Paizo announced some new tokens for the various virtual tabletops that support Paizo. These will include, I guess it looks like a frogmouth, some drow, some other things. It's available to work with Foundry right now, but it'll eventually work with whatever other VTTs are using Paizo type stuff. And yeah, so that's all the non-D&D Wizards of the Coast news. Now let's go to the Wizards of the Coast news, and look at this. It's a biggie. Oh boy. All right, so because Wizards of the Coast cannot leave well enough alone. I'd like to take a moment out of this video to make an open letter to Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro in regards to this never-ending nonsense. Please, sir, just stop. Please, just stop. Our brains need a break. We're literally like 5 weeks behind in processing all the nonsense that is coming out of Wizards of the Coast. And no matter how hard we try to keep up, whether we're on the pro Wizards of the Coast side, like, you know, some friends of ours out there, or if we're against the Wizards of the Coast side, like some friends of ours out there, or if we're just like me, who are just like, I don't care, I just report the news, please just stop. I think we would all like a break from the non-stop onslaught of Wizards of the Coast news. You know, the more you try and defend yourself, the more you try to explain, the more you try to justify, I think the more you just make yourself look sort of desperate, Wizards of the Coast. And if you're trying to really push forward into a new era of, you know, corporate sponsored digital, actually running a good company, Wizards of the Coast, you need to just stop. Just take a break. A week without anything related to Wizards of the Coast so we could catch up. But no, Wizards of the Coast has decided that, you know what, after bombarding you with information for the past 2 weeks of how we're going to change things, here's some more. Because apparently we haven't clarified it enough, we need to continue to clarify it. And by continuing to clarify it, we need to make it make even less sense than it did. So if you have any lingering questions or concerns about Wizards of the Coast's Hasbro strategy regarding the Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering IP, here is a general breakdown that they are kind of using to plan out their 2023 to 2027 idea. Now, this is not from Wizards of the Coast Hasbro. This is just sort of a general idea of how all these companies sort of look at their product. Because at the end of the day, Hasbro is a toy company. It's a multi-billion-dollar multimedia toy company, and they view D&D just like they view ponies. How do we monetize this? How do we process off this? So this is the news. Okay, so we already know digital. Okay, if there's any question about that, digital. They're taking D&D digital. They bought D&D Beyond. They're making their own virtual tabletop. They're going to do digital cosmetics and digital content. They're going to do pay to play. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. So it's sort of pointless to continue to speculate and continue to get upset about, oh, they're going to do this, because we don't know. I mean, we can guess based upon what they said, what they're going to do with the digital aspects of the product going forward. But really, at this point, there was just no way to know. But if we're following the general idea of what they've told us so far and the general branding, we know that they are taking D&D digital. They bought D&D Beyond. They're working on a VTT. They repeatedly say, we're doing everything digital. We want to monetize digitally. We want to monetize the IP into new lifestyle brand ways, okay? Then they did this whole nonsense with the OGL. And at the end of the day, despite them repeatedly attempting to explain it, we still don't have an idea of what exactly OGL 1.1 2023 is going to look like and how it will affect people like me or you who want to make third-party 5e product or who want to make third-party OSR product. Because the OSR and, the OGL still generally tend to use the model of armor class level, hit points, blah, blah, blah. Let's use Mutants and Masterminds for an example as one of the most successful OGL games that I can think of at the top of my head. I'm sure there are ones that are more successful. The Mutants and Masterminds 3rd edition still uses that general framework that we think of when we think of D&D. Armor class, hit points, level, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So we know they're changing it. We know they're going to, gear it towards one D&D product only, but we really still don't know what they're exactly going to do. And we really won't know till we see the new OGL in, I guess, a couple days. So what is Wizard's strategy going forward? Media. Now they are expecting the movie to do bank. They're building themselves up for, I think, a disappointment. Will it make money? It's going to make Guardians of the Galaxy money, okay? It's going to be as influential to the genre as Guardians of the Galaxy was. Will it create a franchise? Doubtful, but you never know. Will it spearhead billions of dollars into the coffers of Hasbro and whoever it is that owns the media rights for the movie? Because right now Hasbro is in the middle of switching out their digital media department. Overseas, maybe. United States, doubtful. The general idea for the industry, and remember, I worked in the industry for 16 years, and I still have my fingers on the pulse of the industry. I still get my, my SAG and my Writers Guild of America newsletters. Plus, I have, my newsletters from Hasbro for being a stockholder. And I have, still maintain contacts with the industry people that I'm still friends with. The general idea of the media of the industry of Hollywood is, it's going to make Guardians of the Galaxy money. It's going to be a funny action adventure comedy set in a world some people get. So far from everything we've seen in the trailers is they are trying too hard to push Easter eggs and references down the gullet to try and just, make everybody happy. Oh, look, a gelatinous cube, to the point where it really still feels like too much. Guardians of the Galaxy worked because, the Marvel fans got the references. The non-Marvel fans just got to watch a funny, exciting space adventure about a quirky group of space characters. My brother didn't know who Gamora or Drax or Rocket were. He just enjoyed watching the comedy and the explosions and the general story. The Marvel fans with me were like, oh yeah, reference. Oh yeah, that's Cosmo. Oh yeah, Howard the Duck. But if it feels like right now they're trying too hard, and you don't need to throw in D&D references to make D&D fans happy, because we're already going to get the references. The next, of course, is the licensed consumer products. Like, what can we put D&D imagery on that will make us money, like stickers, gift tags, pencils, ornaments, advent calendars, action figures, toys, clothing, shirts, pants, underwear, socks, candles, sweatshirts, backpacks, breakfast cereal, electronic devices, various toys, shrinky dinks, coloring books. If it is a media that exists in the licensed consumer product, how can we put D&D imagery on it? I, for one, would love a Beholder Stuffy. Toys and games. D&D is a game first and foremost. So the next edition is going to be pushed as a prime mover as a game. And we're going to have a lot of toy and game related content, So I think we finally have some pictures of the action figures. Yeah, we do. We have the Evil Battle Masters. There's our boys. Is that supposed to be Warduke? No, that's Pulverize. Yeah, and Sylvia. There's the Warduke figure. Ah, man. That figure looks so good. I think that's Lightning Collection Warduke. I don't know if that's the regular Warduke. I don't know who this is. Sort of the Skeletor-looking guy. Lose these helmet things, and this would be a nice fig. These just look ridiculous. I don't know why this looks good on Warduke, but this looks awful on this dude. Because let's face it, Warduke does not make sense. What is holding up this half of a chainmail, and why does he wear it? Don't care. It's awesome. Here's the Drizzt one, but that one's been out for a while, so I don't know why they're showing that picture now. Here's the Bobby and Uni one that's just coming out, I think, this week. Here's the Gelatinous Cube one from the movie. I love the idea that you can open it up and put an action figure inside it and then close it so it looks like the action figure is being eaten. But I don't think these things should have been on the outside. I think they should have been on the inside. They should have done the resin as just a 2-layer resin. So it looks like they're floating on the inside. With them just glued to the outside, it just looks cheap and it looks like they're just going to get popped off. So this could have been done better. We've seen these, the Dicelings. Remember, and the biggest controversy of the Dicelings was not, the tie-in to the movie or D&D, whatever, blah, 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 merchandising was, I'm not going to let anybody use these at my table as a dice. And I think of all the things Wizards of the Coast put into their mind when they were working on these things, I don't think, oh, God, players are going to roll these at the table. We better actually make them roll like dice, was anywhere in the thought pattern. So that's one on everybody else who was like, oh, I'm never going to let anybody use these on my game. I don't think that ever entered Wizards Hasbro's mindset. Here is, what are these called? Bloxels or Blockets? These little not quite Lego action figures for D&D. I told you that they were going to do these for their own Lego series. They weren't going to do Lego D&D. They were going to do their own, and this is these, the Blockos or whatever they're called. These look that looks okay. Acrobat looks awful. Eric looks okay, decent. The Ranger looks awful. Presto looks awful. The girl in the cloak looks awful. Actually, Bobby and Eric are the only ones that look semi-cool. Got the Legend of Vox Machina action figures, but that's not Hasbro. That's Amazon and Critical Role. Notice the D&D symbol is nowhere on here, so I don't know why they're including this with the action figures, because this is not Hasbro money. And then we have, well, I don't know what this is. What is Hellboy? These aren't the guys from the movies. I don't know who these guys are from. None of these are from Vox Critical Role. Is that supposed to be Jester? Is that supposed to be Jester? Is that supposed to be Dot? Is this supposed to be the characters from second season? Because if they are, these look awful. And we have something called the Four Horsemen of Mythic Legions coming out from, looks like McFarlane. But these are not Hasbro. So I'm not sure why they're included in the article, but whatever. So yes, licensed consumer product and toys and games. So in closing, it feels like Wizards of the Coast is going to try pushing D&D as a toy/game again with 6th edition and not a lifestyle brand. Thank God. And then, of course, digital. It all cycles back to the digital nonsense. This is what we're doing. We've got some people. They're on D&D Beyond. We're going to start charging them. We're going to have this digital commerce, like all these other video games that use digital commerce. Is it going to work? Probably not. And then, we even know that there have been previous attempts to make digital homes for D&D that have all failed. Why would it fail? We went over this in an article the other day, because it's just, people are probably going to use it initially just because it's new toy mentality. But long term, I don't see it working, just because the D&D mindset and the digital video mindset are similar, but there's not the same. And D&D at the end of the day is still meant to be an analog experience. So, and the digital stuff is just supposed to be a tool to make it work better. But to take the entire thing digital plus make the entire thing pay per cosmetic and pay per market and digital market will probably succeed short term, long term fail. So the two biggest expectations are probably the two biggest where they're going to make the misstep. Be expecting the movie to be bigger than it's actually going to be probably is a problem. And we're investing a lot in this digital marketplace to the disadvantage of our other aspects of D&D product marketing. And I think that is inevitably going to make a mistake too. But the licensed consumer toys and game stuff, I think that could at least break even. D&D action figures never end up looking good. I don't know why, but they just always sort of look meh. If they invested the same amount of energy and creativity into whatever they're doing with D&D figures going forward, that they're doing with, the Power Rangers Lightning Collection and the Transformers Lightning Collection, and especially the stuff coming out of Japan with the new Transformer stuff and the Viacom stuff, then maybe. But otherwise, it's just going to look like that gelatinous cube figure, which is just kind of could have been better. So there we go. That's how the year is ending. What can we expect from the future based upon this? Probably at least one Wizards of the Coast related story a week. Probably, I don't know. More nonsense every week. Oh, I'm angry at Hasbro. Oh, I'm angry at 5e. Oh, I'm angry at the OSR. And probably at least me once a week going, please stop. As for the rest of the gaming world, every other company that isn't Wizards of the Coast, what kind of news are we going to see from them? I don't know. Nothing really. I have a feeling it'll be another decent year for Free League. I have a feeling it'll be another decent year for Modifius. We could probably have some surprise runners coming up that are going to sort of be like, oh, I never saw them making a really good game. But who ever thought, Thirsty Sword Lesbians was going to win as much as it did? Though that does, of course, ponder the question, would Thirsty Sword Lesbian be as big if they just called it a different name? And not tagged it with that political tag. Because, we'll never know if it was a decent game or not, because it will always be associated with the name and the politics with the name. So it never gave itself a decent break. So we'll never know. They just gave it a different name other than what they did. So we'll probably have something like that this year, but I have a feeling we're going to the end of that phase of our gaming products. If Wizards of the Coast is saying 2023 6E, we're going back to saying it's a game, it's a toy, as opposed to saying it's a lifestyle brand. Then I think we'll see other game companies go, yeah, this is a game. It's not a lifestyle brand. We're not trying to make political statements. We just want you to appreciate the world and the rules. So based upon the list of the most anticipated tabletop role-playing games of the year, it's hard to say what we can expect from the other companies. Whoever, talking to you, Modifius and Free League, whoever can get the rights to Elder Scrolls and turn it into the TTRPG will be the winner. But if 6E ends up being the fail, most of us are expecting it to be the fail, who's going to step up and be the pathfinder to 6E as Paizo was to 4E? Because when we all know when 4E exploded and, hit bottom, Paizo Pathfinder First Edition was there to fill in the hole. Who's gonna be the champ? Who's gonna be the guy to step in when the inevitable 6E destruction happens to fill in the hole and take us into 2025? Don't know. I'm ready to hear your predictions. But that's it for the Tabletop Role-Playing Game news for the last Monday of 2022. What a year. What a year. I gotta say, thank you, Wizards of the Coast. If it wasn't for you, I would have had nothing to talk about this year. So, could you maybe take it down a notch, Wizards of the Coast, in 2023? And could the rest of the gaming community maybe step it up a notch in 2023? I would love to talk about anything else other than Wizards of the Coast every day next year. I would really love to talk about other game companies and what they're doing. So please, step it up. Please. That's it. If you appreciate this nonsense, let me know. If you never want to hear me talk about this ever again, let me know. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please subscribe. And thank you to each and every one of you who have helped me hit 1,100 subs as of this morning. That is way more than I ever expected to ever hit. So I'm eternally grateful. But we cannot stop now because our goal for the end of 2023 is 1 billion subs. Remember, this is my job, so if you want to support the OG GM Adventures, you can donate money to my Patreon. You can do super thanks through the monetization. You can check out my various sponsors. You can buy my merch on Big Geek Emporium. And speaking of sponsors, I'm drinking coffee. But not just any coffee. I want to give a shout out and thank you to my only affiliate sponsor at this time, locally grown, locally raised, cold pastures, Kuso instant coffee and tea. This stuff is amazing. Today's flavor is mocha. As you guys know, if you've been a fan of my show for long enough, I'm a soda guy. I drink like 3 or 4 sodas a day. That stuff is my lifeline. I haven't had soda in a month because of these guys' coffee. That's how good it is. So if I'm the kind of guy who's going to go, I gave up soda for Kuso coffee, you know that is a shining endorsement on my part. I'm not going to take any affiliates that I don't really approve of or like their product. I'll sell out, but I'll only sell out so far. So yeah, there's a link in the description. They'll get you 25% off your first purchase. In addition, they will send you a free sampling of their product for only $4. So you link down below, get yourself some coffee. Let me know what you think. And that's it for today. We'll be back with our regularly scheduled normal nonsense in a few minutes. But until then, I'm the OG GM, your tabletop role-playing game guide to all the news, weather, and general internet nonsense of our hobby, blah, 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 saying, it's hard to believe I have a degree in communication, isn't it? See ya!